I'm gonna blame it on the fact that I was kind of tired when I went to Dev Fest, and then Reid started talking to me, and I was like, sure, I'll come and speak about this interesting thing that we just started talking about. So that's how I'm here. Thank you. So we just started talking about cool things about Git, and just out of curiosity, who uses Git? Pretty much everyone, awesome. Who uses Bitbucket? GitHub? And what about GitLab? What? Okay, that's very, I know, right? That's very interesting. So we just started chatting about some things. For those of you who don't know, I work at a company called Tin Roof Software. We contract out to various companies. When I first switched to a new client last December, early January, we hired a bunch of junior developers. And one of the things we found out was that a lot of them aren't experienced with Git. And I quickly became, because I had the experience, I quickly became the go-to for a lot of the Git stuff. But I'm still learning. So don't expect to learn some kick-ass, awesome, oh my God, better than sex kind of thing from me. I'm still learning. So no high expectations, please. Now that is out of the way. I'm gonna talk about the first thing that I absolutely adore. If everyone, hopefully everyone in the back see my screen okay? Cool. Yeah, I like what they call dark yellow, whatever, but not everyone is on board with that. If everyone notices, I have this master +1 and flag 1. Has anyone seen that before on the terminal? Oh, cool, I'm learning something. Oh, I don't count you, Riaz, but everyone else is saying no. So if you use terminal, personally, I prefer command line for everything. Just because you never really know what's happening in your GUI. Source tree is a pretty good example where I think if you do a git pull, it's doing some extra flags there. You're not really doing a git pull the way you think you're doing a git pull. So I tend to stay strictly with the terminal. And one of the things that I really hated was always having to do git status in order to know the state of my Git repo. So there's this cool little addition that you can have to your terminal so that you know what branch you're on, how many files you have edited, and then how many things you have stashed. This check mark will also let you know how many things, if your repo is in a bad state. And I'm going to show you where I got this from. Here it is. So this is bash git prompt. I can send this out to the group email afterwards, but it's a very easy way to get all of that information into your terminal. And as I do various things, you'll see it update and change, but I love it. No matter what terminal, new computer, that's the first thing that I go to add, because I hate having to type git status all the time, or if I have a shortcut, even though it's 2 letters, I still like having it there no matter what. The other thing that I also like is Autocomplete. Again, this is me being lazy and not wanting to have to type out all of my branch names and all of that wonderful stuff. So with this autocomplete trick, you can just hit tab. Let's say, actually, let me try it out and show you. I can hit this, do STA and hit tab, and it's gonna prompt me, do you mean stage, do you mean stash, do you mean status? I happen to be in a project that doesn't have any branches, but it will work just the same with multiple branches. So if you have topics/E and press tab, it will fill in that branch for you. And that's extremely helpful because currently my project, they don't like to delete branches ever. So we have a lot of branches with a lot of JIRA tickets, and having to try and remember those tickets, I could just hit the tab and I'm done. I don't have to remember the branch names. How many knew of the autocomplete? Okay, yay. I keep doing this because I want to be sure I'm not covering something you already knew. So I figured you're all devs, probably a couple years, decades in. So some of this stuff you probably already knew. So I was very worried that this would be in one ear, out the other, and pretty much useless. So I did that. Okay. Now, the other thing that I wanted to cover, let's see here. So I have, it's a log, so it's probably a lot of changes. It's a useless log of database migrations, I guess, from whenever I was working on this project. I use get stash a lot. So what get stash does, if you don't already know, it stashes your changes for later. You can push them onto a stack and pop them off. You don't have to commit them in order to save them. I use that religiously, especially when I'm changing between branches. And if I have maybe 20 files changed and my tests have broken and I'm not really sure what broke it, I usually have to stash everything and then kind of start over to try and figure out where that change came from and what happened. With get stash -p, now this, I wouldn't say it's better than sex, but it's pretty damn close. When I found out about get stash -p, that changed my everything. So I now use this flag religiously, and what -p does is it allows you to specifically say what chunk in a file you actually want to stash. So you don't have to stash everything that's dirty on your repo at the moment. You can just say in this specific file, just stash these 2 lines, or stash everything in this file. So with get stash -p, oh, this is not a good example because everything has been changed. Hold on, let me do a change. Let me know if you can't see, if I'm talking too fast, can't hear. So this is a README, and I'm gonna make, let's say, rambling rec, and 1. Rails is awesome. I spelled awesome wrong. I'm a developer, not a writer. And so I also wrote Go Jackets down here. Huh?
Oh, Ramblin' Wreck, sorry.
Yeah. If you notice, I slipped in a little Ramblin' Wreck right here with this project. So I try every once in a while. A lot of our tests, there's George P. Purdell all throughout our test base. So I made these 2 changes. Just as a plug, here's HeroPad. It's a free app that I found out about a while ago to do MD files. I like it. I like the side-and-side view better than some of the other ones that I've tried. But that's what I'm using. So now if I do get stash -p.
What's that program called?
HeroPad?
HeroPad.
HAROOPAD. And this is my boyfriend, Sean. I dragged him here because he drags me to all of his boring blockchain and Bitcoin talks. So, but my talk is going to be more interesting than yours. Just. Okay, so this is the log. There's all of these letters, hopefully down at the bottom you can see. Y means yes, stash everything. I actually have to reference this all the time, and I can never find it online, and I found it on like a Stack Overflow, so I copied and pasted it into an Evernote so I can remember it whenever I try and reference it later. Commands to remember. Here it is. Okay. Can everyone see that? Cool. So Y is to stash this hunk. No, do not stash this hunk. Quit. So it's if you got to the file that you wanted to stash and you don't really care about everything else, do quit. A is to stash this hunk and everything in the file. D, do not stash anything in this file. G, select a hunk to go to, so on and so forth. All of these different tags. And it actually doesn't show all of these ones down here. And like I said, I couldn't find like a man page or anything to actually go through this. I found it on Stack Overflow, and that's been the only place I've seen it so far. So if y'all come across something that details this in more detail, let me know. I haven't successfully found it. That's why I copied and pasted it here. So if I go back, let's say I want to not stash anything in my log file, so I will do D, and then in the README, I will, what do you mean? Is it because I did a capital D? Where did my README go? Oh, I didn't save. I've been using IntelliJ that saves stuff for me, so I don't save anything now. It's absolutely horrible. I'm thinking about buying RubyMine just for that reason, because I have had that happen so many times. Okay, cool, now it's there. Jeez, Louise. Rails is awesome. So I want to not stash this hunk, which is blah, no, wrong file. And then it goes to the next one, yes, none of that. Get status, my changes are still there. I can do a git diff. So Ruby on Rails is still there, everything else is not. That's how -p works, and I love it.
So is it delimiting the hunks like on the fly as it's showing you?
Yes,
what
that's
defines a hunk?
that's why I wanted to do another file altogether. How exactly it's doing it, I'm not entirely sure, but I know that if you have, like, if you change the whole file, it's going to ask you about the whole file pretty much. I've only ever seen it break up the hunks if there's some changes that, not changes, but if there's no changes in between. So like here.
Like how GitHub kind of only highlights the big.
Yeah, or yeah, Bitbucket does the same thing. So there's a whole bunch of stuff here that didn't change between Ruby on Rails and Go Jackets, so they considered that two different hunks. So yeah, any other questions? Cool. So the other thing I didn't quite know about. Everyone is familiar with git ignore, right, for your repo, and I think I have one. Yeah, I have one for my repo that gets pushed to the repository, but I have come into situations where I somehow generate files that I don't want to be committed with stuff, but I still want it created, and I don't want to update the git ignore for my repository either. So there's two different ways you can handle that. You can either create a info exclude page file, and that will exclude everything for you specifically for that repo, or you can do a global.ignore so that everything on your system is ignored when you want it to. And I don't think I have. Info exclude. So, oh yeah, I have public in here. So I didn't want my public files committed, and I was too lazy to update the .git ignore. So I'm also going to do all of the log stuff. I don't want that either. Oh, do I already have one? Yeah, I probably already have my log committed. Anyway, so there's this .git info exclude to exclude stuff for you specifically for that repo, and then of course the global.git ignore. The format is the same, it's just where it's stored and what it does is different. -p. So let me make a commit. Git status, git reset.
What's dash dash do?
For the checkout?
Yes, your git checkout dash dash dot.
Um,
Oh, it's just the delimiter. Never mind. I've just never used the dash dash. Since
okay. Yeah, I was surprised that you asked me that because I'm like, I have no idea what the dash dash means. It's just I use it. But yeah, it's, if you see the prompt here, if you want to discard the changes.
Sure.
Yeah. Dash M, so dash M sets the message. I don't know. So this next one only works if you haven't pushed yet. Excuse me. So let's say I'm going to change my message, or I want to go ahead and add a file, and I don't want to do a whole new commit. I am very picky about how my commits are grouped. I want them to be easily grouped so I can easily revert them without messing everything up. So if I have some changes in one commit, some changes in another, I have to revert both of those in order for everything to really be reverted. I like to group things, so I hate having to do multiple commits one after the other. So I use this one a lot where I do it. First, I'll do a git add to say I want to add my logs. And hopefully everyone is still noticing how this is letting me know I have one thing left to push. This is ready to be committed, and then the number of things that I have in my stash. So git status, I want to do a commit -- amend. So by doing this, it's going to add that log to my same commit, and it's only going to be one commit. I can basically edit it before I push it. Again, this is before you push. And let's say Ruby on Rails, meetup, I control. Oh, that doesn't work in here. Okay. Got quiet all of a sudden. Meetup at pivotal. So now one commit. -- amend. So I can also do -- amend for the commit -- no edit, I believe. Yeah. So if I didn't want to edit the message, I could have just did a no edit, and it just would have added that file for me. So those are 2 new flags for the git commit. How many knew about that? Okay. I'm doing good. I'm so happy.
Question about the git stash command. You're saying that it shows you that you have 2 files that are in the stash?
No, I have 2 stashes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so if I do a git stash list, I just was lazy about the stash save message. And then this is the most recent one. Can you see it?
You really can't see the file. Yeah.
Let me.
Maybe half, maybe the console, maybe only half the screen, or half the screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see, full screen.
I think that might be better. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Did I? Okay.
So you have so you're saying you have 2 separate stashes?
Yes.
And then, so if you wanted to be able to check and see what's in those stashes, would you be able to do that in one command?
Yeah. Let me see if I can remember what it is. Git stash show. Okay. And it should be. I actually cheat a little bit. I use source tree for that. And that's the only thing I use source tree for, is to view stuff, ironically. But I do no other action in it. Show stashes. So this is how I usually see what I stashed, and I apparently stashed a lot.
I probably shouldn't admit this. I use source tree a lot when it's like these files are conflicted and I have to somehow resolve
So
conflicts.
there is another tool for that I, so first I use IntelliJ on my day-to-day, but that's with Java, not with Ruby. IntelliJ has a phenomenal merge tool, a part of that. I actually don't mind using it in IntelliJ, but before I found out about that, I was using merge tool. I actually don't have it set up on my personal computer. I would probably have to use my professional one to show you, but I can see if I can bring up the web page. So if everyone wasn't already aware, you have a merge tool built in with your git command. And actually, if I already had this installed, I would be able to do git merge tool. And you can change, there's different merge tools that you can use. I personally use meld. And If anyone's interested in meld and actually seeing an example of that, I can bring that up on my professional computer later to show you. But with Git Merge Tool, because I don't have it set up for, oh, I don't have anything to merge, that's it. Yeah, I don't have anything to merge, so I can't really show you anything quite yet. But I personally like meld. It has a great side-by-side view of yours and theirs, and you can just click on buttons and say, yeah, keep this, trash that, and it'll let you know when there's nothing else left. IntelliJ's work pretty much the same. I like IntelliJ's better because the UI is better. It's just everything is clear and it's a little nicer. I've never used SourceTree though for merge conflicts. I use either Merge Tool or IntelliJ explicitly. SourceTree is pretty much an extra software. It's another GUI I barely use, unfortunately. Any other questions? Yes?
What do the merge tools do that is hacking through merge conflicts and VS Code don't do?
I don't know. Has anyone else used any other merge tools? I already mentioned Meld. I'm not aware of.
I use VimDiff.
Okay.
Because my fingers do Vim anyhow, so.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Well, some of them will show you comparisons side by side, which is sort of nice, right?
Yeah.
And they'll also highlight specific instructions that are different, like special like distinct order. So,
Yeah. So if I have,
I sometimes find, even after years, I find the raw Git, like plus plus, like syntax confusing sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah,
So if I have enough time, I can break out I know I have some stuff that I can potentially merge and actually show you the diff in IntelliJ as well as with Meld. Actually, that's everything that I have to cover, so I can try setting this up real quick. Any other questions? I did want to say, everyone is familiar with Git stash, right? It's just the stash changes. There was a pretty funny moment. We have there was 24 new people on the project, and about 15 of them were junior devs, and we actually had to go over how to use Git. And one of the architects who has like 15, 20 years of experience was finding out that people were having a hard time with Git stash. And someone had messed up our repository. I think they did a huge rename of everything in the base, and and I also made a bunch of changes before the name change. So if you can imagine, that merge is just a nightmare. So I was asking him, I don't know what this person did with all the changes, and I made these changes, help me out with this. And I had some changes that I didn't want to, I had some changes that I didn't really care about. So I did a Git stash, and he freaks out. He's like, what did you just do? And I'm like, I did a Git stash, this is what it does. And he's like, no, you don't do that. You don't do a Git stash like this. And I'm like, what is the problem? I don't want these changes anymore. I did a Git stash. And he's like, why not just reset everything? And I said, well, in case I do want to keep stuff, it's still sitting in my stash. And if I don't want it, I just drop it from my stash later. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, everyone else is having a hard time with stash. And one of the developers kept stashing stuff and asking him why his stuff was disappearing. So he freaked out, thinking that I didn't know what I was doing with Git stash. So it's not that complicated, so hopefully everyone has a pretty good grasp, yeah?
Have you seen ref logs? Git ref logs?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it's whatever happens, you'll get it back.
Yeah, I know, but it's just, it's too much work to have to go through. Yeah. So with Git stash, I could just look at SourceTree or look at my stash and just drop it later. I usually pile up a bunch of stashes, and by the end of the sprint, I just drop it and start all over with next sprint. That's the way that I work. But it was pretty funny to freak out the architect because he really thought that I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I shut off the computer. Any other questions or comments? Let me see, do I have anything else? Oh, the other one that I wanted to talk about was git patch. But to be honest, I can't remember what the command is, but I found this useful. During that hurricane threat or whatever about a month ago, when everyone pretty much lost power in Atlanta, I forgot, was it Hurricane Maria? I'm sorry? Irma, maybe? One of the hurricanes that was coming through, I can't remember. Yeah. As a contractor, I can't connect to the client's network from home, but they told us to work from home for 2 days. So I was in this position of making changes to the Git repo, but not able to push to the Git repo. So one of the solutions for that was a patch where all of my changes could be stored to a file and then sent to the users, and they can apply that patch on top of their changes and push it on their end. A lot of people don't really know about that because usually you just push to the repo and don't have to send files around. But if you are in a situation where you can't, for whatever reason, push to the repo, you can use git patch, I believe it's, yes.
Can you show really quickly cherry pick as well?
I don't use that at all. You do? You want to come up here and show us?
No. It's a strange one.
Yeah, while working with, one of, our rule, especially with all the junior devs, is there's no rebasing, there's no rewriting history of any kind, just because it's just a lot of work and headache to undo it later if someone doesn't know what they're doing and messes it up. I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't even touch rebase half the time because I just don't want to deal with that.
You committed madness rewriting history.
Technically, yes. But it's the child version of messing with history. It's like messing with a message and adding a file. It's not rewriting it and squashing commits and completely changing stuff. So yes, you're right. You got me there. But it's the toddler version that I'm comfortable with. Yeah. Okay, so let me switch. Everything you see is proprietary. Hopefully you're not going to see any code. But just in case you do. I'm not in a. Yeah, I did. CD to GitHub, ls. Let's see what I got that I can mess around with. Say that again?
We're making jokes about you leaking information.
Oh, no. This is what I'm going to do. Since this is all, IntelliJ is here and Merge tool is here, I'm just going to grab one of my repos as soon as the internet comes up. Pivotal isn't showing up for some reason. Huh? Shouldn't it be on alphabetical order?
It is. Go down that.
Oh, shit. Excuse my language. I'm having a rough day. I'm lacking sleep.
Always be kind, lowercase.
Thank you.
There it is.
So thankfully, I'm already logged into GitHub. So just for when I come across issues that I want to change. All right, let's go to Connect 4. So hopefully everyone has SSH set up for their Git repos. Who does? Brownie points if you do. If you don't, SSH. So if you're not familiar with that, if you already use Git and you're connecting to a repository, it will ask you for your username and password. If you set up SSH, by putting your SSH key into the repository setting, every time you clone something and every time you push and pull from the repository, it won't ask you for your password anymore.
Why? I didn't know there was another way. Like, I've been doing this a long time. And wait, people access Git without SSH?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I thought you meant the other way, like you've been using your password and everything this entire time, really?
SSH keys forever. That's like the only.
Yeah, no. That was another one of those things we needed to cover. Yeah.
My life has changed. Yeah. Okay, that's awesome.
Git branch dash A. Cool. Git checkout develop. Git checkout dash B. So if you aren't already aware, dash B will create another branch for you off of the one that you're already on. So Ruby meetup. Let's see here. I haven't given away any trade secrets yet. This is just Docker stuff. Again, standard Docker stuff. Let me just close that just in case. Messing around with Connect 4. All right, so this is a horrible Connect with 4 app that I attempted to do in Ruby on Rails before I learned all of the changes in 5.1. So what could be a big change? Oh, haha, this is what I'm gonna do. Find in folder. And let's find and replace player with, Sean, give me another word for player.
Person? I have nothing. You got me on the spot there.
So you're saying you weren't paying attention? 45 occurrences. And see, Sublime doesn't save everything for me like IntelliJ does. Save. This is why I stopped using Sublime. All right. So hopefully this should generate some merge conflicts. Git commit dash A lets them know everything that I just committed, I want merged. I want everything I changed, I want committed. Okay. Git checkout master. Wrong thing. Sean, give me another word for player.
Goalie?
How do you even spell that?
Oh, I have no idea.
It's human, person, thing.
Person, yeah.
Cool.
This is how you schooled me at Connect 4 last time. You were programming it.
What do you mean no matches found? Fine.
Did you already replace it?
No, I committed it on a different branch. Oh, haha, wrong branch. See, this is why the master thingy is helpful. Find in folder, replace, replace, replace. We gotta go through all of this again. Cancel. Close. Da-da-da. Who uses Sublime for Ruby development? Anyone? No? Just two people? Is everyone using like Atom or RubyMine or something different? Atom? Okay. I don't think, do I have Atom? I do. Well, I wasn't aware of that. I started my Ruby development on Sublime. That's what I'm used to. All right.
Oh, yeah.
I
Remember if I downloaded that.
currently, I am a Java developer. I haven't really done Ruby in like a year now. So Atom and Sublime, I really have.
Still write Java in that.
I'm sorry?
You can still write Java in that. It doesn't describe.
Why would I want to do that? IntelliJ? No, I can't. I can't. I need the IDE to tell me what my object has and what it doesn't. Just no, I need that. All right, so git checkout, whatever I named it. Git merge develop. Yay, I have 6 merge conflicts. Okay. So now if I do the git merge tool, this is meld, and this is where it has the side-by-side view. Can everyone see that? I don't know if I can zoom in here. Let's try this. No, I can't zoom in on the text, it looks like. But if you're having a hard time seeing it, I can show you up here or show you later. But on the left side is my local, and on the right side is my remote, and then the middle is what it's asking me what should be the final result. So on my left, I'm merging from develop, which had human person thing, into my Ruby meetup branch, which had awesome persons replacing player. So whichever one I decide to choose, I can do this little arrow right here, and then it will get rid of the red, and it will ask me, do you want this to be moved over as well, or just get rid of it? So I'm gonna get rid of it. And then once you're done with that, you can click save. For IntelliJ, let's close all of those. File, open recent. Let's do cookbooks. For IntelliJ, Git master, should be more. For IntelliJ, it works pretty much the same, except it has a cooler view. File open. So cool. This will show me pretty much all of the files. I can say automatically accept all of theirs or accept all of mine. And when I do the merge, it has a similar view, but I like the way it looks just a little bit better. So I can do either everything from the left or everything from the right. I'm gonna go from the right and ignore everything on the left. So those are 2 different options for IntelliJ and for Meld tool. Does that answer your question on like what it looks like? Yeah, it was you that was.
I just never used any like third party
Oh, okay.
things for merge conflicts. I guess I should just work hard and make one merge conflict.
Or like, yeah, write more code.
Do you work on projects that have a lot of developers though? No. That's why you don't merge conflicts. It's really hard to merge conflicts yourself, whereas when you have 10, 20, or more developers.
Why would you have 20 developers on one project though?
I don't know, would you?
No, you
Okay.
If you're agile, I don't think you're supposed to, right?
You're supposed to have maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I ramped the numbers too high.
I will say in the example that I gave where someone like renamed everything in the project and then I went and made commits, we were at like an 8 or 9 person team at the time. They, for some reason, decided to do 3 teams of 8. And that has since changed because it was a nightmare to have so many people coding and doing all of those. It was a nightmare. So we actually shifted that around. So 8 was like the magic number for us. So we're down to like 4 per team now. Any other questions? Is there anything else you want me to talk about? No? Cool.
This video has been sponsored by Reid Incorporated. Learn more today at rietta.com.